So, hi everyone, my name is Alistair Lawrence and welcome to Skills Transformation in the Middle East, Maximising Employability and Modernising Economies. I'm a Special Projects Editor at Times Higher Education and I'm delighted to be joined today by a panel that consists of Mongi Bezbez, who is Vice Chancellor at the University of Carthage, Samar Farah, who is Skills Transformation Consultant at Coursera, Thomas Glass Hoschgatter, who is Provost at Abu Dhabi University, and Mawad Marti, who is Head of Strategy and Planning at King Abdullah University in Science and Technology. Thank you all very much for joining me today. It's the issue of skills transformation is a global one, but obviously there are regional challenges within that affect different higher education sectors around the world. So I'd like to dive straight in and ask the panel, how much more important is it in the current climate to identify the technical and soft skills that are needed to meet regional demand for students and workers now going forward? Samar, can I come to you first?
Sure. Thank you, Alistair. I think it's particularly important to think about that at the moment, given what's happening with COVID. We have seen, the COVID situation over the past year has exacerbated everything that's happened prior to this period. And in the case of the Arab world, what we're seeing from the data that we've collected at Coursera from 77 million learners on our platform, as well as data that we have from the industry clients that come to us for their learning needs, is that data, technology, and business are some of the key skills where we need to develop further, and that will be needed for the workplace in the future. And in the case of the Arab world, what our data shows is that these skills are particularly needed in the region, and the region is falling quite far behind the rest of the world. And so I think at a time like this, universities should be thinking from a skills first perspective, in addition to what they're already doing really well, to help ensure that young people are prepared for employment in the future.
Thank you very much, Samar. Thomas, can we come to you next? I know that you've served in leadership positions in higher education in the US, Europe, and the Middle East. What are some of the unique challenges that the Middle Eastern region faces at this point?
Well, I think the challenges are the same ones that everyone across the world is facing. I'm in a particularly advantageous position, and perhaps we're the outlier, but in the United Arab Emirates, the country as a new country has been very responsive to technology. As a nation, we're 50 years old, and we kind of grew up with the information technology revolution, so that the technology, the infrastructure, the attention to technology as an important element of the skill set of the workforce, those things are all part of the DNA of the United Arab Emirates. And I'm also fortunate enough to be at a university where technology and being at the forefront, if not in fact at the cutting edge of technology, is taken very, very seriously. So that not only in our programs in engineering and in the natural and physical sciences, but also in finance and in other areas. We have been developing new concentrations, new majors, and taking on new courses in cutting edge. That being said, the students who are entering next fall for education, the jobs that they're going to be taking in 5 years, they don't exist yet, and the technologies don't exist yet. So what we have to do is to create in our students the motivation to continue to learn and to find new ways of using existing and evolving technology, and to be aware of that technology as it becomes available. That's why it's so important, I think, for us to be thinking very much into the future. It's really a crystal ball kind of exercise that we're going through, because we don't know what the technology is going to be. We know what the directions are of the technology, where technology is going. But what exactly is going to be happening and where people are going to be is something that is very unclear. I'm pleased that we in the UAE are kind of leading the way, if I may say that, be bold to say that, that technological skills, as well as the soft skills, as well as the analytical skills, as well as the emotional intelligence. Those are things that universities need to be focusing on. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Mongi, can I come to you next? I know you're a professor in automation and industrial computing. How have you seen your own discipline change in recent years, and how is this affecting the way that you are teaching skills and trying to improve employability for students at your institution?
We have many recommendation to our institution belonging to University of Carthage to track these changes and to be able to fix problem if there is some problem. We follow up and support our students during their studies and the framework and special structure, what we call 4C, which means Centers of Skills, Career and Certification, creation of legal status of students contractors, which means that they're able to create their own enterprises and be a student at the same time. And this is to encourage the link between industry and between students. And this is a factor that students will come back with some experience, industrial company experience, create a pool of student pôle de l'étudiant entrepreneur de Carthage, which it's mean this is like a co-working space between students and companies. We have also created an observatory to follow up graduate students, which identifies the difficulties of integration into the professional environment and the needs of companies. All graduate projects must be done in companies, and we are trying to boost the application of a new thesis, which we call professional thesis and industry. So we are focusing on some indicators, how technology is evolving on companies and how we can fix the problem of these diversions between what we teach and between what and the company needs.
Great, thank you very much. Mawad, I'd like to come to you next, please. You're head of strategy and planning, which, judging from what the other panelists are saying, is a job that's perhaps more demanding than ever at the moment, if it is hard to predict what people are going to need in the future. How are things changing in regards to human resource management and the need for greater collaboration within universities?
I guess, I mean, the whole world is evolving and changing. In a human resources, there have been a lot of evolving demands onto really online learning, development, online platform, different skills required for a future generation. How do you fraction employment is one of the things, moving from not only technological skills, but technological as well as soft skills. We don't know, Thomas said, we don't know what the future look like, but we know what the direction, and the direction is going into the jobs. The more the jobs are created are really more than that's, gone through technology, but the jobs are requiring both skills, that really soft skills, such as leadership, problem solving, complex critical thinking, as well as applying technology, cybersecurity, data analysis, and computer science. They need to be mixed in a way that people are ready for the future, that actually prepare the students to have future jobs. I think the focus will be on a holistic students development rather than just the old methodology of teacher-centric, but it's a holistic view of development, technical, soft, individual skills that prepare the students for the future of jobs.
Great, thank you. Smart, to that point, a platform like Coursera, which is very agile and offers people different ways to learn, are you seeing changes in the way that students are pursuing skills-based courses when they're using Coursera?
I mean, I think the important trends that we're seeing, I mean, I think the main trend that we're seeing is that students are coming onto the platform a lot more often because of what we've seen happen over the last year. So in a country like Egypt, the numbers doubled within a year compared to the previous year since 2013. So I think that's a very important trend to be aware of. And I think students are becoming much more aware, as everyone is saying, of the jobs that are coming up and the fact that they don't necessarily feel prepared with the education that they're getting now. And, I think it's very easy to put the blame on the universities. I think everyone is in a very difficult situation. As my colleagues have shared, it's very difficult to predict what other jobs are going to be coming up in the future. And it's very difficult for universities to maintain strong ties with industry. And I think this is where our platform has that access, has that constant engagement with industry, and is able to offer content on a very quick basis based on what are the cutting edge skills. So we're able to put 2 courses, if not more, on a daily basis on our platform. We're able to refresh it. There's no way a university would be able to do something like that. So in terms of the trends we're seeing in the region, young people are coming to us for these emerging skills. And in the case of the Arab world, they may not always be learning the cutting edge skills, because the vast majority of students still need to learn things like programming, data analysis, data visualization before they can move to the more advanced topics. But they're also coming to us for things like language learning or soft skills development, as my colleagues have shared. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the trends are shifting in terms of what students are learning, but I think they're much more aware of the need to invest in their skills in addition to the education that they're getting in university. And that as a complement, I think, serves them really well in preparing for this quite uncertain future.
Yeah, could I just chime in? We in the university community, I think, are very much aware of Coursera. 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, Coursera scared us to death. MOOCs were going to kill us off. And that didn't happen. Universities are surviving. Universities are doing very well because there are some things that we do that nobody can do face-to-face on a computer monitor. So that's fine. And so the soft skills, the so-called soft skills, I call them deep knowledge skills. I call them interpretive, analytical, the ability to take solutions from one arena and apply them somewhere else. That's something you can learn in a university. The kind of skills, though, the programming, the student who graduates with a bachelor's degree in psychology is not going to get a job in psychology. You give that student a UXD training, a series of modules that get them up to speed on how you create and communicate good web content, and there is a job, there is a career, there is a 6-figure income. I know because my son did it. So I know that it's possible. But so you put these things together, and we're looking at Coursera and other purveyors of online content, which right now is self-policed. And so you have to be careful what you're choosing. But you put those things together and it's just dynamite. We're looking at Coursera as a partner and as a strategy for our alumni. Everybody in the Arab world is trying to find a way to get the alumni to stay close. Well, if you buy the licenses and you pay for the free access for the alumni will stay loyal. They will come back. They will find their way back to the university. So there's a win-win there, and we keep them productive, and we keep them as being a part of the growing economy. So there are many, and even our introductory courses in engineering, we already almost require, and it will soon be a requirement, that some of the basic tools, Cisco, SAP, Oracle, IBM, certification and a basic knowledge of how to use the technologies of those tools, that is becoming sine qua non. You cannot begin an engineering program without already having those things. So we in the university, we're looking wherever we can find it. And we have to be creative in keeping those kinds of things available to our students and to our alums. and to our faculty, because the faculty needs constantly to be updated. You can't sit on your laurels. The PhD you got 10 years ago is not going to be much help to you if you're not current in your field. So there's a lot going on, and it's a very exciting time. I'm very happy to be here. I'm happy to be working where I am.
Great, thank you, Thomas. You preempted my next question slightly, which was to ask about what sort of data and analytics do you think is your institution gathering now about the way that people learn? Are you collecting a different type of data on your students as a result of more of them learning online?
Well, I don't want to take over the conversation. Yes, we're listening very hard to our alumni and to our employers. And they have an expectation, and then we provide. And there are gaps there. There are gaps in the skill sets, both hard and soft. And it's where the gaps are the biggest that we're paying the most attention. Yesterday in inside higher ed in the United States, a study was published from the whatever it is, the AAUCU, or the American Association of Colleges and Universities, that showed those kind of gap analysis. Now, that study was specific to the United States, but I think it's applicable to other cultures as well. And what is it that employers want? They want the ability of young people, new employees and existing employees, to understand that a solution that they think of as being specific to one set of problems can be applied to another. They want students, alumni, graduates, new employees who have worked in the community. In the UAE, an internship is required of every undergraduate degree. And it has to be meaningful. And this is what employers are looking for. They're also looking for students who have had some kind of CSR experience. It's not all about just making money. In the Arab world in particular, care of one's fellows is absolutely part of the culture. And to the extent that graduates have already encountered that and have been successful at that in the university environment, the more sought after they are as employees.
Great, thank you, Thomas. Monty, I'd like to come to you next just to ask about how much you're now required to align what you're teaching students with economic growth in your region. Are you looking much about how the job market is changing, and is it presenting new challenges for you in terms of meeting the demand that government want, that employers want, that perhaps any sort of international ties require? So I suppose what I'm asking is the skills that you're teaching, how do you anticipate that they will change in requirement to what the economy needs in your area?
Are you asking a specific?
Sorry, Monty, I was coming to you. I don't know if you can hear me okay.
Of course, the skills are changing in our region and around the world. I have some points to present. The volume of scientific knowledge doubles every 2 years, which is mean that the young student will see his knowledge obsolete at the end of his third year of studies. This is very, very important, and the domain of computer science and telecommunication data analysis. Young graduates change 5 to 6 times jobs during their first 5 years of careers. The top 10 jobs most coveted by young graduates did not exist 10 years ago. And these elements are boost us to look for how technology is evolving and how we can satisfy the need of companies, and the process needs a feedback reaction from companies, from employers, and needs also to be aware of political changes, of technological changes around the region and around the world. This is why It's continuous job of adjusting and adjust and readjust every time.
Great, thank you very much. We've had a few questions come through. There's some overlap in them. I'll try and pick out a couple of the key ones in the last 10 minutes that we've got. One of them was asking about saying, I've often observed resistance to soft skills learning, including languages, from students and their parents in the Middle East. How do you convince them of the importance of soft skills in the 21st century job market? I wondered if anyone would like to address that. Mawad, is this something that perhaps you could speak about?
Okay, I mean, I think it is a very important questions, and they are very important skills. So if we look at the World Economic Forum in its recent report, The Future of Jobs, actually, if you look at the soft skills, language, problem solving, critical thinking, leadership, social influence, emotional intelligence, these are ranked higher than the technical skills in terms of the future of jobs requirement. So I think, you know, jobs like skills like big data, cloud computing, Internet of Things, they're equally important. But when you look at the ranking, I guess the ranking on the soft skills are really higher because we don't know what the future of jobs, but we know these skills are critical for innovations. These skills are critical for advancement. I mean, technology are there, people will learn it, and you know, Coursera or edX or others or whatever it is. Now people moving to a fast learning. I want to know, you know, Python language, I go a course and I go specifically to that language and learn things. But these soft skills are actually critical for an advancement and innovation and evolvement. That's part of being agile in this evolving world.
Thank you very much. We had another question for Samar, which asks, how can students compensate in cases where universities are slow to respond to the areas of teaching technology skills?
I mean, I think the world is so open and accessible that a student can really do whatever he or she wants in this day and age. You know, there's so much information out there through our platform, through many others, that if they are finding that they're not able to access the skills that they need to learn for the jobs that they want in the future, the platform is there for them to learn that content and to complement what they're learning already in the classroom. And I have to say, a lot of students already do that, where they don't have access to the highest quality education, or the university doesn't have access to additional resources that can prepare them for those kinds of jobs. So the platform is available to anyone. Any student can audit a course and access all the content for free. At a low cost, they can also pay for it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there for anyone who really wants to gain the skills that they need for jobs. And I think the great thing about Coursera is that you have access to content not only from universities, which is fantastic, but also from industry. And so if there are particular types of job roles, specific technical skills that you want to gain, then you also do have access to these industry partners that really prepare you well for jobs in the future.
Great, thank you very much. We've had another question about asking the panel to comment on the need for a national level manpower planning ministry, which can present future direction based on 2030 vision, such as the UAE has done, and the fact that this is being done in most planned economies. Thomas, perhaps I come to you just to ask you about what impact a national level program has on your approach.
Well, I think we are very deeply impacted by it, and we're grateful for it because it tells us the direction that the economy is going. And the sectors that the national government and the national economy have decided that they're going to go, so that we can be immediately responsive to that. It's true, we're rather directed and we're rather constrained. Therefore, we have a national Ministry of Education that certifies every degree. And actually goes down into real granularity with regard to course learning outcomes and programmatic learning outcomes to make sure that everything is aligned. That doesn't mean that we can't color outside the box, but we tend to follow that. and the national agenda is very closely thought through. We are at the table. We're asked our opinions, and our faculty. I'm on the Department of Economic Development's workforce that is looking at Abu Dhabi's future growth. And being a part of that makes it all the more exciting because we're not being dictated to, we're helping to create the plan. We're building the road as we drive along it, if you will.
Okay. Within that framework, the one you've described, is there the opportunity to help you drive a sustainability agenda in the region?
Absolutely, and there is, but the sustainability agenda is actually coming from the government. We are an oil-rich country in a world that is moving rapidly away from oil. And the prosperity is still here, and alternative energy, alternative ways of thinking about the way the world is going to be greening up over the course of the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. It's very much part of national thinking. We're somewhat of we're an interesting country because only 10% of the people who live here are actually citizens, are native Emiratis. And so we bring in talent from all over the world. And the way in which we structure the workforce can be somewhat more manipulated and a little bit better controlled than might be the case elsewhere. So we have a wonderful opportunity to model the kind of policy decisions and ways forward that I think can be of great use in guiding the rest of the world or other countries that are looking for test beds. We're a great test bed for that.
Great, thank you very much. Mahmoud, how is the outlook in Saudi Arabia? Is it similar to what Thomas is describing?
I guess in Saudi Arabia, the initiative have started at the national workforce planning, which is critical to look at the future of jobs and working backwards into really looking at the entire curricula design ecosystem from K to the college, really. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, since the vision of 2030, you can tell that's a lot of change happening, and the pace of change is really accelerating on a daily basis. So many work has started looking at the national workforce plans, the future of jobs, future of skills versus jobs, really, because we're focusing more on skills gap and how we reach there. And they're working backwards on making sure the curricula is designed to meet the future of skill set. So in Saudi Arabia, for example, there are many committees, and we are part of those committees, formed to establish, moving from a teacher instruction-based curriculum to more student-centric, where actually applied learning is happening versus theory-based knowledge. And these things are happening on a rapidly basis to shape, again, like UAE, Saudi is a oil-based economy. And one of the fundamental reasons behind establishing CAUS, where the university I work for, is really diversify the economy, and economic development and innovation is a core mission of our existence. So we are a graduate research university with dual mission to diversify the economy and have a startup. And that's how, the work is, very accelerated by the Vision 2030.
Okay.
Can I add something here? I also think that public universities have a huge role to play in driving these national agendas. And I think I just wanted to share that we've just partnered with the University Hassan II in Casablanca in Morocco, which is the largest public university in the country and has 120,000 students. And so these are the kinds of institutions that can also really drive those visions. And in their case, employability is at the top of their agenda. And so, these are the ways in which some of these, large universities, the public universities, can also really feed into the national agendas as well.
Great, thank you very much, Smart. That does raise an interesting point about the possibility for all of this approach to widen access and ultimately make education a bit more equal and fair for all people to get an opportunity to learn in this way. Sadly, that brings us to time, so we can't go any further, but thank you very much for the panel. I think we've covered a lot in 30 minutes.